My biggest goal as a parent is to help my kids develop emotional resilience, to make them mentally strong, and to equip them with tools to be able to handle the ups and downs of life. Hi friends, this is Supreet. I upload new videos every Sunday about personal growth, meditation, and parenting. You can follow me at Grow with Supreet on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. In this video, I want to talk about how I build mental resilience in my kids. Mental health is a topic that is very, very close to my heart. I know that a lot of mental health issues in adults have their roots in childhood years. So I want to do everything that is in my control to make sure that my kids grow up to be mentally healthy and mentally strong adults. Our kids go through a lot of anxiety and stress. It could be social anxiety, it could be peer pressure, bullying, self-image issues, feeling different from others. It could be stress related to their studies or exams. There's so much going on, and these days, on top of all this, they have to deal with pandemic anxiety and adjusting to their new normal. So in these unprecedented times, it becomes even more important for us as parents to support our kids and to prioritize their mental health. I'm going to share with you 7 mental health tips in this video. These are things that I do with my kids to help build their emotional resilience and their mental health. The first tip is be a good role model. I know as a parent, it's very tempting to just teach your kids by lecturing, and I do that too, to be honest. It's so hard not to. I feel that as a parent, I have the license to lecture my kids, but lecturing rarely works. But teaching by example and being a role model is way more effective. So what I like to do with my kids is to think out loud in front of them whenever I'm dealing with a problem or I am confused or sad or angry. So I want them to observe firsthand how mom deals with things going wrong or how mom deals with failure. It is especially important for me that I show them how I fail and how I deal with failure. And the lesson I really want to instill in their minds is that it's okay to fail. You just have to learn the lesson from your failure and move on. I love the quote, "There are no mistakes, only lessons." I often share this quote with my kids. My second tip is to help my kids to practice gratitude. For this reason, I've recently purchased gratitude journals for my son and my daughter, and I have them write down things that they are grateful for in those journals. Not always do they have time or the energy to write down, so on days when they don't feel like writing, I will just have them verbally share with me 3 things that they're grateful for that day. The reason this is important is that being grateful, having an attitude of gratitude, is a trait of mentally strong people, and it also helps you build a growth mindset. When you are grateful for the things that you have and not just focusing on the things that you want to have or the things that you're missing in your life, it helps to promote your mental health and make you more positive and happier individuals. And gratitude is something that even adults should do. I have made a separate video about how I practice gratitude myself, how I do gratitude meditation. So if you're interested in watching that for yourself, you can watch it. The description will have the link to that video. The third tip is to inculcate self-love in your kids. Self-love is a skill that is so important to build. It is so important for your mental health and your future mental health as an adult to have self-love. So one of the things I do, and this is something I read in a parenting book a few years ago, is that for every negative reinforcement that you give to your child, you have to give them at least 4 positive reinforcements. So there has to be a 1:4 ratio. So whenever I see them work hard or achieve something, I make sure to praise them. And I also make it a point to not just praise in a way that I tell them, "Oh, you're so smart." I try to avoid using the words like "you're so smart" or "you're so pretty" or "you look so pretty." So the compliments that I prefer to give to my kids are, "Oh, you did really good effort," or "Oh, you worked really hard and I'm so proud of you." So you always want to be praising their hard work and their effort as opposed to how smart they are, or as opposed to the result that they have achieved. So while giving them the positive reinforcement, remember to focus it on the effort and not the result of the effort, because going forward in their adult life, the result of what they do is many times outside of their control. But by reinforcing their efforts, you're helping them to build a strong work ethic and perhaps less attachment to the result and less attachment to things that are outside of their control, and more emphasis on the things that are within their control, which is their actions and their hard work. The fourth tip is to introduce meditation and mindfulness in your kids' life. I have introduced my kids to meditation and mindfulness. I'm not very hard and fast about it. It's not like they have to sit down and meditate every day, but we do talk about it. They see me doing it. I again teach them by example and by being a role model. I have made a complete playlist for kids meditation and mindfulness. So in that, I talk in detail about how I teach my kids to meditate, what kinds of meditation they do. There's one video that talks about mindfulness games that you can play with your kids, and a bunch of other techniques on how and why I make my kids do meditation. I have also used, recently I have used apps like Calm and Headspace because they have short 2-minute or 5-minute meditations for kids. So sometimes we sit down and play one of those guided meditations and do it together. So there's lots of other tips and techniques that I've already made in my previous videos. You can find them all in the playlist called Meditation for Kids, and the link to that playlist will be in the description of this video. Tip number 5, teach them to process their feelings and emotions. This one is a big one. This is so important for their mental health. The need to process your feelings and emotions is very important to build your kids' mental health. Unprocessed emotions can cause a lot of issues as they grow up, and it can lead to some mental health conditions like anxiety and depression. So it's very important for me to help my kids understand the importance of processing their feelings and emotions. And what do I exactly mean by that? So, for example, my kids, first of all, they need to identify their feelings. So especially the negative ones. So if they're feeling sad or angry, I want them to know, to accept and to acknowledge that I'm feeling sad, and that it's okay to feel sad, it's okay to cry. And I have a son and a daughter, and I make sure that I even give this message to my son that it's okay to cry, because a lot of times society makes it so that boys should not be cry, or boys are not supposed to be weak, or sometimes our society thinks expressing emotion as a sign of weakness, and that is something so wrong with the society. Both boys and girls need to be able to express their emotions, process their emotions, and to cry. There's a reason why the suicide rates are so much higher in males than females. I think it's because boys have been raised to be, strong and macho, and we don't express our emotions and we don't cry. But I think that is so crippling to the mental health of men. So I make it a point to tell my kids it's okay to cry, it's okay to express your feelings. In fact, I encourage them to talk about their feelings when they're sad, and when they're speaking, I listen with my full intention. Another thing I tell my kids is that all feelings are meant to be felt, fully felt, and processed. So if they're feeling sad, I don't rush them to get happy or get normal. And this is something that I have been guilty of doing in the past. So if my kid is crying, I would, give them a candy or give them a toy to distract them, because it's bothering me more than it's bothering them that they're crying. So I was in a rush to move them to a normal state or a happy state. But now I have learned to give them the time and space to process that sadness, get over it, and learn to calm themselves down before they return to a normal state or a happy state. A really good movie that I love is called Inside Out. It's a kids movie. It's a Disney movie, I believe. And I love that movie because even I learned a lot of things from that movie about feelings and emotions. So in that movie, they show that, they represent sadness and happiness and all the feelings with characters. And we learn in that movie that even sadness is important. Even sadness has a role to play. So normally we just think about, happiness is the thing to feel and that is the goal. But no, sadness has a purpose. Sorrow has a role to play in your life, and it needs to be felt, it needs to be processed. So that's a movie I would highly recommend for you to watch with your kids. So as much as I have said all this about, being there to help my kids process their feelings and being there to listen to them, do I always listen to every single rant and complaint I get? No. My biggest pet peeve is, the non-stop sibling rivalry that happens between my son and daughter. And pretty much every day I get complaints about how come she got that and I didn't get that, and this is not fair and that is not fair. So I don't necessarily address every little thing that is brought to me by the kids, and in those cases, in the case of, little things that they complain about, I will often say something like, go figure it out yourself, or talk it out with her and settle it, or, I'm busy right now, I'm working right now, I cannot deal with this. So many times I have to say that. But I make sure that for the bigger issues, for example, bullying, or if they're, more hurt, like deeply emotionally hurt, I will stop what I'm doing to take care of them and to be available to listen to them and help them process what they're going through. Tip number 6 is to give them space. So in my last tip, I talked about being there for them to help them process their emotions, being there to listen to them and encouraging them to talk about their feelings. But that doesn't mean that you always have to do it for them. Sometimes the best thing to do is to just give them space. So for example, sometimes if I know that my daughter is hurt because, a toy got broken or something, I will tell her that why don't you go in your bedroom and you can cry if you want, and you can, meditate if you want, just calm yourself down. And once you're feeling okay, you can come back to me. So sometimes giving them space is also very important, because as much as we want to support them, we also want to help them learn to help themselves and be independent and learn how to calm themselves down. So for me, one of the ways is I'll tell them, go and, take a few deep breaths. Sometimes you have to leave them alone for their own betterment. Tip number 7 is to read books with your kids. And I'm talking about growth-related books and mental health-related books. There are lots of books out there, really good books on this topic, and kids connect with books and the characters in books. So I find that reading these kind of books with them is a great way to build their mental resilience. I like to sit with them and either read the book to them or have them read it to me, depending upon the level of the book. And it's a great bonding opportunity for me to bond with my kids. I recently purchased a book which I am using to grow my kids' mental resilience, and next week I'm going to talk in detail about how I use that book to help my kids grow and help them become mentally strong. So to make sure you don't miss that video, please hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so you will see that next video on next Sunday. So now I'm going to give you a quick summary and recap of what the 7 tips are to make your kids mentally strong. Tip number 1, be a good role model. Tip number 2, help them practice gratitude. Tip number 3, help them develop self-love. Tip number 4, meditation and mindfulness. Tip number 5, teaching them to process their feelings and emotions. Tip number 6, give them space. Tip number 7, read growth-related books with them. If you found this video helpful, please like and share it. And also, if you have any other tips for mental health for your kids, please be sure to write them in the comments below so I can learn and other viewers can learn from you. See you next Sunday. Keep growing. The camera's definitely recording? Okay. I did good without any script.